What's good, guys? Welcome back to another missing person case Monday. So today we're going to be talking about, this one is really long, so I may appear to read off my laptop because it has so much information. I have not come across a missing person case like this yet, y'all. And I have been reading and I have been mind blown by this case. Like, no bull crap. So today we're going to be talking about Jaliek Rainwalker. And his name, I swear, it's like when I first seen his name, I was like, wow, sounds like my son's name and he looks like my son. So that really drew me to his case. He has been missing since November 10th of 2007. Jaliek has been missing from the New York area, and at the time of his disappearance, he was wearing a bright yellow pullover, a gray t-shirt with an image of a dragon on the front, blue jeans, and a blue canvas of high-top sneakers. It was a lot, so I needed to read that. So, as I was reading, he was also 12 years old at the time of his disappearance. I forgot to throw that in there. So, as I was reading the form where I always go to get a lot of these missing person cases, and this was the first one that I ever seen that discussed medical conditions. So it begins to talk about how Jaliek suffers from a lot of emotional trauma, and he has a lot of violent outbursts, and he was exposed to alcohol and cocaine in the Euro, so when his mom was pregnant with him, and he has been diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, which makes it hard for him to form relationships. And as a child of a parent who has done drugs with her, I definitely relate so much to the attachment disorder. I wanted to do a video about that another time. This is not the time and the place to talk about that, but it's very common when you have grown up in an environment of a drug addicted parent. So Jaliek is listed as biracial. His mom is white and his dad is black, from what the reports say. He has brown hair and green eyes. He also has a speech impairment where they said like he pronounces his R and W's a little bit different. His disappearance, he had a curly afro, which was blonde. So now we're going to get into the details of his disappearance. The details are very long, so I want to try to clean it up as much as possible, not make it super long, but I know a lot of you guys do like to hear all the things, so I will definitely read everything for you guys. So yeah. So just to brief cap, Jaliek went missing on November 10th of 2007. So Jaliek was last seen at his adoptive parents' father's house. I had to like read that over because I was like, what? So that was the last place he was seen. His adopted father stayed the night at his they should have just said adoptive grandparents' house. That makes total more sense, but okay. So Jaliek disappeared in the middle of the night from what his adoptive father had stated. They stated that he left a note, and I'm going to read you guys the note because they do have it in here. So they said that when he woke up around 7:30 in the morning, Jaliek was nowhere to be seen, and they end up finding a note. And the note was read as follows: "Dear everybody, I'm sorry for everything. I won't be a bother anymore. Goodbye, Jaliek." The father reported him missing around 8:57 that morning after not realizing he was in the home. Jaliek has been believed to have been carrying either cash or credit cards at the time when he went missing. So they do give a little backstory because he was living with adoptive parents. So they said Jaliek had been living with his adoptive parents, Kerr, and his wife, Jocelyn A. McDonald, for 5 years by 2007. He was born addicted to crack cocaine and spent his early childhood in 6 different foster homes. His parents stated Jaliek had violent temper tantrums and his 4 siblings were afraid of him. Jaliek's former foster parents, Jody and Lauren Scone, who cared for him for 4 years, confirmed this, stating his outbursts would last up to an hour. They described Jaliek as very intelligent, but a very troubled child. The Strones had originally planned to adopt him, but after he attacked their daughter when he was 7, they decided he could no longer stay in the home. He went to live with Kerr and McDonald, who have 3 biological sons and 1 adopted daughter. The couple's children range in age from 8 to 14 at the time of Jaliek's disappearance. It says Jaliek's adopted family led a non-traditional lifestyle at the time of his disappearance. Their home in Royal Washington County, New York, had no running water. The toilets are outhouses. Its only electricity comes from a generator that runs for 7 hours during the day, and everyone slept in one room. The family stated they lived this way because it was better for the environment. And how was he living in this home? But we'll get to that. A photo of the Washington County house is posted with this case summary. Jaliek's family still owns the home, but in 2008, they moved to West Robert, Vermont. Kerr and McDonald stated Jaliek was both suicidal and homicidal at the time of his disappearance, but he wasn't taking any drugs or receiving any therapy for his mental conditions. On October 23rd, a little over a week prior to Jaliek's disappearance, Kerr called a crisis hotline. So the dad called a crisis hotline, and the son was being unmanageable. So they go on to say that he threatened a small child in the homeschool group, and McDonald was afraid of him and no longer wanted him at home. Kerr said that he and his wife wanted to reverse the adoption. The crisis worker said it was not possible to reverse the adoption and suggest respite care instead. Jaliek was sent to the home of Elaine and Tom Person, licensed foster care parents who had provided that particular care for him in the past. They kept him until November 1st, then gave him back to Kerr, they planned to send him to another home the next day. That was the day Jaliek was reported missing. An extensive search of the area turned up no indication of Jaliek's whereabouts. Within a few days, police announced that they could have met with foul play. It says, since it is very likely that a child that age could only survive on his own, the possibilities of Jaliek running away or committing suicide had not been ruled out, however. McDonald took a polygraph test, this is the mother, but Kerr refused, which is the father. Both parents maintained their innocence in his case and stated they believed their son simply ran away. They suggested he might be living with an African-American family or gang, as Jaliek had always considered himself black rather than biracial, and he had wanted to live with other African-Americans. The person said the farewell note Jaliek supposedly left on the night of he vanished was not a goodbye note, but rather a letter he assigned to write by his father for homework. Kerr allegedly told his son to write a note apologizing to the people he had harmed, and Tom saw him writing it, although he didn't actually read it. Elaine and Tom believe this was the note found after Jaliek vanished. Elaine, several of Jaliek's former foster parents, and his adoptive maternal grandparents has started a website publicizing Jaliek's disappearance. Elaine wrote she believed Kerr harmed Jaliek on the day he went missing and caused his disappearance. And I was going to say that because, I have never lived in a foster family, but I did get put out before, and I know what it's like to be with a family who actually takes proper care of you, and it shows the way that you progress in the world. Because when you come from strenuous backgrounds as such, it's mental. It really messes with you mentally, and people do not realize this. Like, I still suffer as a 28-year woman with a lot of the issues I went through as a child. And when you don't have good people guiding you, it can be so hard, and people not giving you the proper resources that you deserve. I honestly believe from reading all of this, and there's still more. That's why I said I'm going to read it to you guys. I'm not going to just come off the brain, because it's just so much information that it's like, come on, we kind of already know who already did this. We already kind of have an idea of what happened to Jaliek. I feel like they personally did not want him in their home anymore. And since the system said they can't reverse the adoption, he decided he wanted to go about it his own dang on way. I mean, he didn't even want to do a polygraph test. If I didn't do anything, you take every test you got. and I'm going to lawyer up because you're not coming for me. So it then begins to say that in January of 2008, police named Kerr as a person of interest in Jaliek's disappearance. They stated they had video surveillance camera footage of Kerr driving his van around Greenwich after midnight on the night of Jaliek's disappearance. At a time, Kerr said he was asleep. Cellular phones records also indicate Kerr took a different route to the house than he had said. Investigators appealed for information for Kerr's whereabouts on November 1st and November 2nd. In February 2008, police conducted a search warrant on Kerr's father's home, where Jaliek was staying when he disappeared. They seized a computer to try to determine if the machine was used to write the alleged goodbye letter, but couldn't prove or disprove of it. Days after the search, Kerr and McDonald filed a lawsuit against the police department, alleging they had been illegally detained and the search was improper. Jaliek's adoptive maternal grandmother, Barbara, has been active in the search for him and filed for custody of him after his disappearance, but was denied. In July 2008, she was charged with burglarizing Kerr and McDonald's home. Really had pleaded not guilty, which is Barbara. Shortly after the burglary, police went to the home and removed a piece of clothing for testing. They stated Reilly had seen the clothing while she was inside in a media interview. Reilly said it was the yellow fleece shirt Jaliek was said to have been wearing when he disappeared. Photographs of Reilly, Kerr, and McDonald are posted with this case summary. In the media interview, Reilly stated Kerr had anger management issues and had been going to counseling for them, and that McDonald had made him move out of the home for a brief time throughout 2007. He had aggressive behavior towards the children living there. Reilly said she witnessed one incident where Kerr became angry with Jaliek, dragged him outside, and repeatedly dunked him in a nearby creek. She said McDonald made Kerr write a letter of apology to Jaliek for this and made him do the child's chores for a month. Jaliek may be in the New York cities of Albany or Altamont. Authorities believe they have little evidence as to his fate, and no one has been charged in connection to his case, but foul play is suspected in this disappearance. So, that's a lot of information. So, a lot of things are wrong in this case. Where was social services at? Why didn't you come and make sure the home was good enough for these children living there? I mean, they already had an adopted daughter and they had their own biological children. Then you're getting a new child. Why isn't anyone coming making sure this place is suitable for children? I remember my grandmother was doing foster care. They came and searched the home. I had to go get my fingerprints done because I was 18 years old and I was living in the house. So, once again, the system has failed this poor baby because I believe he's probably dead. I mean, the evidence, look at the evidence of what it's saying. You know, he claimed he was asleep the night of the disappearance. He wasn't. He was out midnight in the van. The grandmother says she found a piece of yellow clothing that was in the home. Okay, that's 2 things. 3 things. He was very aggressive to the children living in the home. He was witnessed, dragging Jaliek and dunking him in the creek. That's 3 things. And it's like, when will enough be enough? It's like you want to get these kids out of the system so quick, but yet you're not even making sure they're in proper, stable conditions. I don't care what mental illness this young boy had. He's a child, and he deserves to be treated with the utmost respect. And I'm not saying that, he shouldn't be in trouble because he was attacking people. If that was the freaking case, he needed to be in a facility for children who have psychiatric type of situations. Like, no one stepped in to help him. Like, I don't care. Like, and that's the thing about it is, like, when you become the problem child, you're the forgotten one, and people want to just label you as such. Like, I remember me being the same way, being aggressive, being out of control, having violent outbursts because I didn't understand, what was happening to me. I didn't have my parent, part of my parent, and I'm thinking like they didn't love me and stuff like that. You just never know what's going through a child's mind. At the end of the day, that's a child, and you have to do everything to get your child to where you want them to be, because they did not ask to be here. I mean, hell, the mother did freaking crack when she was pregnant with him. So come on now. Like, and then you, child, it's triggering me, fam. It's really triggering me, because it's like, I can't stand when people do that. And so many people failed this young boy, so many people. And then the grandmother, you filed for custody after he's disappeared. Why the hell didn't you come and step in sooner to do anything for this boy? I'm not understanding that. I personally believe Jaliek is no longer here. I mean, look at what I read and said out loud. It doesn't make any sense. And if he is alive, maybe he ran away to get away from this toxic environment that he was living in. Hell, he had no running things, no electricity from a generator. What? I would die. Oh my goodness, it's hot in this room and I'm about to faint. Not really, but you catch my drift, you know? Excuse me. It's just so sad when you hear stories like that, because it's like so many things could have intervened. And like, even with the other foster parents, you didn't step in to get him like more help. Like, I don't know. I'm not putting blame on those other parents, but it's like they wanted to just pass him around because they knew that he was a troubled child and they didn't know how to deal with him. But yet the system didn't even help to step in to maybe get him the fundamental things that he needed. I don't know, guys. Like I said before, I feel like that's what I believe. And the parent needs to be in jail. The adoptive parents need to be in jail because they did something to that boy. Anytime you don't want to do a lie detector test, but your wife does that lie detector test, that makes no sense to me. No, ain't trying to hear it. So guys, let me know what you think happened to Jaliek. Again, like all the other cases that I've said before, I say it time after time, sending love and light to those that really actually care about Jaliek Rain, who actually care about him. Like, that's the most important part. I pray that they get the justice that they need, and that if he is still alive, maybe he's doing good without him. Or his real family. I pray that his real family, who actually care about him, get the information that they need in this type of case, because it's really sad when you hear about children having to go through circumstances like that. Stop having children if you cannot raise them, because there are plenty of people who actually take care of your children, unlike those adoptive parents. Because I don't know what that is. But until the next case, guys, I'll see you.